Hey, what's up, comrades? So we started season 2 of Arifureta, from weakest to world's strongest, or whatever the tagline is. Anyway, that's pretty good. It starts off with our boy Hajima, something like that. And he is fighting an angel and he looks pretty beat up, and he lifts up his gun to fire at her, and then it goes to credits. So then after we get credits scroll, he's traveling with the harem through the desert. Wait, something happens before then. Oh no, I know what happens. I watched like a little prologue beforehand. It was like 3 or 4 minutes, and it just is like the kids at school before they get teleported to the new world. There's absolutely no reason to watch it. So I got that a little confused because I watched that and then started watching this. All right, so yeah, they're in the desert on their Humvees. They see a bunch of sandworms kind of sitting around being weird, and they have a conversation about that. The priestess and Yui kind of get into some back and forth fighting, and Yui keeps talking about how she's having sex with Hajime, and the priestess gets very like, "Oh, I'm so angry," and then the cute little mermaid girl is like, "Why are sisters fighting? We should all get along." And so, nothing's changed from the end of season 1 to the beginning of season 2, which is how it should be. So I like that. Okay, so then they fight some sandworms. They get chased around, and their Humvee has a bunch of like missiles and rockets and stuff. So they do that, and then they roll up to the sandworms. They blow them all away, and then they meet this guy. And this guy is like, he's super poisoned with something. And the priestess successfully identifies that he's got mana sickness. Mana sickness is when you have too much mana. So when you have too little mana, you die because mana is the source of life. But also, if you have too much mana, it like starts destroying your internal organs because it's like too much life force or something. I don't know. They don't go into too much detail about it. So then the priestess tries using like a cure spell. That doesn't work. So then she uses like a mana absorption spell, like Osmosis from the Final Fantasy games, and that seems to work because it like drains enough of his mana off into her that he's able to like awaken. And you find out that it sounded at first, the first time he said it, it sounded like he was saying he's the son of the Duke of the local area, but then later it sounded like he was saying that he is the assistant he's like the Vice Duke or something. So, I mean, both those could be correct, but it was just kind of confusing. It could just be poor localizers, as most localizers are absolutely terrible at their job. So, I can't wait till the AI shows up and localizes everything for us correctly. Anyway, so localizes and translation correctly. That'd be great. So, where were we? Oh yeah. So he talks about how he explains that this town that they were like passing by anyway has someone like poisoned the drinking water with this thing that makes everybody like mana sick, and that they hired some adventurers to go check it out, but they like never showed up, and they disappeared or they got sick, and so now they got nobody left, and so he was headed off to try to find somebody to help when he got like overcame with the mana sickness. We never get explained why the worms were just like sitting around looking at him, especially when they were very aggressive with the Humvee, but I mean, whatever. So then Hajime is like, all right, fine, you guys talked me into it, we'll go help them out. And they're like, yay, adventures. Meanwhile, we see these demons, and the demons are talking about how this group of 4, he calls them, what does he call it? He doesn't call them abominations, he calls them like, aberrants or something along those lines, where it's like, oh, the aberrants, or oh, the that's not the word either. I can't remember what he actually said, but whatever he calls them, the word means that they're unusual and that they're not expected. I just don't remember what the word is because English. Yeah. And so these 2 demons are talking. They talk about how these aberrants or whatever killed the redheaded demon girl and how they did something else. Like, essentially, he just kind of explains like all the stuff that they did in the first season that had to do with like demons being around. Oh, like the guy they sent off with the demon army, how they killed that, and then they went and killed the other girl, and like how did they know this was happening, and how were they in the right place at the right time, and then they talk about how God sent them to like do stuff, and like God is leading them and God will protect them. So of course the gods are involved because the gods are evil, and you know these demons are probably just being misled, as demons often are in these Japanese animes. Like, demon does not mean what it means in like Christianity. Clearly, if you've ever watched like even like one anime. Anyway, so then one of them is like, I'm going to go to this volcano and get the super magic so I can fight these guys. And it's like, oh, that must be another one of these like arcs or labyrinths or whatever. So they'll probably all bump into each other there so that Hajime and Yue can get more magic, which will be fun. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's all that happens. Oh no, the heroes at some point, like the other kids, they roll back into the castle and meet like the new princess, or not the new princess, we meet another princess, the princess of the kingdom that they're all working for, and the king. So the person before that I was like, I think that's just like a bishop or something. I was right. And then the king and the princess is like good friends with like the katana lady, and they're like, oh, I gotta tell you about the priestess. She left with Hajime, and she's like, oh, what about Hajime? And it's like, oh my gosh, are they gonna add more to the harem? This is ridiculous. Like a harem's only fun when it's like 6 people. Like more than that, it's like, all right, this is like, it's like a harem, right? It's like a caliphate harem, like a sultan or an emirate or something, like with his like 40 wives, just like, you this week or you today, and then so Arifureta. So episodes 3 and 4 make a lot of progress, and I'm trying to remember exactly where the episode 3 starts, because I watched it like a day or two ago and just watched episode 4. The gist is they did the thing. Oh, they had the volcano. Okay, yeah, so they like cured people for the most part, and then they left the priestess and they go head into the volcano. Okay, we talked about that, I'm pretty sure. So they're in the fight. Oh, the light. That's right. So where'd the light come from? The light came from a god magic, right? Or like one of these. It didn't come from like god magic. It's called like Uranus's Vault or something. It was from the demon that we saw earlier, and the demon has like a whole team of dragons with him, like white dragons and stuff. Which I thought dragons were all dead, but I guess just the dragon people are dead, except for our girl here with the boobs who is like BDSM sub chick. So Hajime survives the attack, and then they're under like intense attacks. So they're really taking it. Hajime's pretty hurt, but they're able to fend off the guy. I think her name's Tio, the dragon lady. She turns into a dragon and like fights off the dragons, and then they're able to kind of push this guy off. And we see that he has like the teleportation magic that you get from this dungeon. So he came down here and he got the magic, even though he's working for the gods. And but then he does something to cause like the lava to stop her up. He destroys like a keystone or something ridiculous. And then he like corners him in and then like kind of takes off. So Hajime gives Tio, the dragon lady, the siltstone or whatever they need to cure all the people, and sends her on her own to head back and meet up with the priestess and Mew, the merfolk lady girl, to cure everybody. And he's like, hey, make sure you tell priestess something, because she'll know what that means. Like everything's going to be okay or something. And so she takes off, and she has a power because of Hajime that like the more damage she takes, the more damage she does, the more powerful her attack. So she bursts through the volcano, kills a bunch of dragons, and then it lobs like a super attack at the demon. I don't know if it kills him or not. It was kind of indescript about that. And then she flies back, meets up with the priestess. She gets healed up, and they're like, okay, we're going to head towards the merfolk town on our own. And like, and Hajime said he's going to meet us there. And like, cool. So then we see Hajime. He like wakes up and he's on a boat in the water, and he's like, and Yue is like laying on top of him, giving it like with her shirt off, giving him kisses or whatever. And he's like, oh, that was crazy. What happened? And then we go back. Why, what was the need for that setup? Anyway, so then as the lava's rising, they go to the gate, they enter the chamber, get the magic, the teleportation magic, read the thing, which is like, my greatest wish is that all humans will be free. Now we're in episode 4. And then they use some like shield magic, go out into the lava, and he like summons a boat that he created at some point, and they get in the boat. The boat's like protected from the lava because he's so good at his job. But then all the lava like exits out into like the ocean, and so they get shot out into the ocean, and they fight off some like sea monsters, and then he kind of passes out for like a day or two. I think they said a couple days, or they said a while. I can't remember. I was trying to read the subtitles, but it's hard because I watch a lot of these while I'm driving. So I like watch the road, and if I catch it on the side, then I catch it. But so they're good, and then they get attacked by merfolk. They beat the crap out of them, and then they look up, and Mew's like falling from the heavens, and the dragon and the priestess are all flying down, and so Hajime goes and catches her, and they like pick up the merman and like put him on the boat, and they all sail to Gessel or whatever it is, the merfolk home. And once they get there, they meet up with Mew's mom, and she's horny for Hajime, of course. like immediately. And other women are kind of jealous. Meanwhile, stuff. So and that's kind of where that wraps up in episode 4. So meanwhile, back at the kingdom, between episodes 3 and 4, we learn that they're going to excommunicate Hajime, which makes him puts a mark on him so that he's going to be killed if seen. He's branded a heretic. I don't think they excommunicate him. They brand him a heretic. And then Ai-chan, the teacher, comes to be like, this is crazy, you shouldn't do that. And then she meets up with the katana lady and they have a conversation, and that's when Ai-chan tells the katana lady all about Hajime is like, hey, these people are corrupted. God's not what you think it is. He's a bad guy, and he's trying to hold people back, and that you shouldn't trust the church or the kingdom. And she's like, he mentioned it, and I was like, I don't know. And then I came here and met these people, and they seem very strange, and the whole thing just kind of put me on edge. And the katana lady's like, yeah, I've kind of noticed that as well. And so did the princess. In episode 2 or 3, she's walking by her dad, who's the king. And she says something to him, and he just kind of wanders off without even responding to her. So there's something definitely corrupt going on there, probably with the demons or something. We also get a scene with the guy who tried to kill Hajime, and he's talking to another student. It's a woman. That's all we see. We don't see who it is. And she's like, I set that up perfectly for you. You couldn't execute, but we can still make more plans. But you owe me something. We can both get what I want, and he's like, all right, fine, I'll do it. So there's some more shenanigans, more demon corruption, most likely, and such. So that's where we're at the end of episode 4. So we crushed through a lot of stuff here in episode 5 of Arifureta, the world's weakest to the world's strongest, or whatever. Let's see. So it starts off. We say goodbye to Mew and her mom. We don't get too much of her. They're on their ship looking for the next labyrinth, which is in the water, and they're sailing around trying to find it. This episode focuses a lot on Kaori, I think is her name. Finally, I remembered. She's the priestess lady. So she talks to Hajime, and she keeps having this odd smile, and she keeps being kind of sad-opotamus, which gets addressed later on, which is excellent. So then they use the talisman they got in the last dungeon to absorb sunlight, and then it guides them to the crests that lead them deeper and deeper into the water until they finally reach the beginning of the Great Labyrinth. Once inside, at first they're very nonplussed about the situation. There's a bunch of easy to kill monsters, but then they run into some slimes, and the slimes are devouring magic. And finally, the slimes all form into a giant slime monster. Sorry, my son's talking. They all form into a giant monster, a slime monster that they can't defeat because the more they try to use magic on it, the more it just kind of burns their magic. But then Hajime notices that there's a little whirlpool in the middle, so he uses one of his devices to blast through the ground, and they all enter a vortex in the water, a cyclone. Not a cyclone, a whirlpool. And then Yue nods at Hajime to rescue the priestess and take her. So he does, and they end up in kind of an oasis-looking area, and she's like. And they have a brief conversation. He mentions that she needs to stop being so sad-opotamus and this weird smile. And she's asking about Yue a little bit. And he's like, you need to not worry about that. We need to go. So they start traveling, and they end up in this ship graveyard area. And then all the ship people, all the pirates and crew come to life. But it's all an illusion. And they disappear as soon as magic shoots on them. So Kaori does a good job helping to defeat them, but she's very kind of sad-opotamus still. And he's like, hey, you are really bringing the whole vibe down, and you got to stop, or you might as well just leave. And she's like, what, you saying that I'm more of a hindrance than a help? And he's like, yes. Yes, you are. And she's like, rah, rah. And he's like, listen, Eeyore, I love Yue. She is my top girl. Nothing's ever going to get in the way of that, and she'll always be number one. And if you have a problem with that, then you need to stop hanging out, because that's just how things are going to be. And she's like, okay, I'll think about it. And they continue onward through the dungeon. The rest of the girls are not with them, Tio, Shea, and Yue. But supposedly they're going to all meet up at the basement, which I'm sure they will. Then we click back to Ai-chan, who's the teacher, and she gets accosted by a nun who tries to charm her, but she's able to foist it off. And then the nun punches her out. and is like, you're coming with me, we're taking you to the Divine Mountain. And then the princess is like watching from the shadows, and she's like, oh my gosh, I gotta tell somebody right now. And so there's definitely more shenanigans going there. I'm assuming this is like the angel thing we saw at the very beginning of the first episode of the season is somehow related to all this. This nun's probably an angel or some nonsense, but yeah, good stuff. So Arifureta episode 6, we're trapped in the dungeon. Kaori, the priestess lady, and Hajime, they're viewing all these kind of like battles and all this like illusions and whatnot. So the next illusion that comes up is they see a guy who looks like a king, and they're at like a party on a ship with a bunch of beastmen and demons and everything. And then the king's like, we have finally made an alliance, and we will live in peace and prosperity with everyone, and everything will be good. And then he's like, I can't do it. I wish you all dead. I hate your disgusting whatever. And then all the beastmen and stuff get killed. And Hajime sees this like white-haired woman, which seems like it's important, but doesn't appear to be important later. Maybe because as they continue on, Kairi gets like knocked out, not knocked out, but like knocked away. And then Hajime gets attacked by a bunch of like ghost guards. So once he kills them, Kairi comes back. And previous to this, they've been having like a pretty intense discussion, which they started in the last episode, about her sticking around and how he put Yui's number 1 and how Kairi will never be number 1 and how she should just leave because it's not going to satisfy her or something. It's had this like very deep conversation, and they kind of build their relationship a little bit with that. So when Kairi comes back from being like knocked away, she says something that tells Hajime immediately that that's not actually Kairi. So then he shoots her, and then shoots her a couple more times, and then like the ghost or whatever that's possessing Kairi is like, no, if you kill me, you'll kill her. And he's like, I don't kill her, and I'm using magic that can't affect her physical body, so I'm just going to torture you forever. And so he starts doing that, and then the ghost like leaves. And I don't know if that was like the white-haired woman, because we don't see it. We just see like Kaori get up, and he's like on top of her because he was like torturing this chick, and then she gives him a kiss on the cheek, and then he carries her to the circle, which transports them to the actual magic circle, and that's when Yui, Shea, and Tio show up. And they're like, oh, Kairi, are you hurt? And she's like, no, I was just faking it so Hajime would carry me. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're the worst. And then they have like a chit-chat, and Yui and Kairi like make amends, and she's like, all right, well, you can stick around. I think you should leave, but just I'm glad you finally understand that Hajime is always, I'm like the top. And you will never be that. And she's like, that's fine. And then they get restoration magic, and the whole thing kind of floods, the whole dungeon. And so they are able to like put themselves in like a water bubble, and then the slime monster from like 2 episodes ago shows up, and they're like, oh, let's see, we can't use fire against it. How are we going to beat it? And then Hajime's like, I know what I'm going to do. I have an idea. So he starts working on a crystal. He's like, I need 3 minutes. Can you guys stop it? And they're like, oh no, it's about to break through our water bubble. And then like the fish guy with like the human face that he rescued like last season, I want to say, shows up with like a whole crew of fish and like knocks the giant slime monster back. And he's like, oh, I'm here. And Hajime's like, oh, bro, what's up? And he's like, bro. And she's like, oh, it's our friend. And so he talked the fish monster, or the human face fish guy, says some like cryptic stuff. And then Hajime launches like torpedoes at the slime and kills it. And everyone's like, yay. And I think that's where the episode... Oh, no. Okay. So that's the end of that. So then we go back to the castle, and all the kids are like, where's Where's Ai-chan? It's like, oh, she went to the Divine Mountain. Oh, I'm so concerned. There's no guards around either. Like, what's going on? And then like their like tutor guy shows up, who was like training them all, and he's like, hey, what's up? And he's like, we haven't seen Ai-chan. He's like, oh, she went to the Divine Mountain. Yeah, but she's not back. And he's like, oh, and it's like, there's no guards. And the guy's like, oh, we've been investigating something. Dun, dun, dun. And then we see Ai-chan like knocked out, and then the nun lady who knocked her out at the Divine Mountain, which is just like a cathedral, is like, oh, I got my plans for you. I don't need you. I mostly want Hajime. And that's where that leaves us off in that episode. Hey comrades, what's up? I just finished episode 7 of Arifureta. It was kind of a chill episode for the first half. It's just like the crew hanging out in the little fishman village with Mew and Hajime coming to terms with the fact that he's got to continue on his adventure, but that he's leaving Mew behind, who's like his daughter, right? Metaphorically. And how sad she's going to be, and him not wanting to deal with it. And there's a lot of talk about him being like growing a conscience, not being so hard-hearted, like when he first met Yue, for example. and stuff before, and how his teacher, he talks to himself about how Ai-chan really helped him kind of like rediscover his humanity, which is delicious. But you get they're at the beach, obviously, because they're in like a water town, so we see all the girls in bikinis. It's hot. We find out that Yue and Hajime sleep naked together every night because Mew catches them up, ruh-roh. So that's good. So we know they're banging. So that's good. That's what I want. I need that realism. What else do we find out? So it's just fun. It's almost like a Hot Springs episode. If you're familiar with anime at all, you know what I'm talking about, or like the Hot Springs OVA. So like, oh, they got the thing closed. Anyway, they were doing a barrier check or something. So I'm talking about the road was closed. So I had to pause this for a second. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so it's like a Hot Springs episode, right? Like you see, usually they have them in OVAs, or there'll be like a little episode. Ghost in the Shell's second standalone something. I can't remember. I can't remember what that is. Anyway, Complex. Standalone Complex always had like a weird episode in the middle of both the seasons where like the robots would talk about philosophy or whatever. Anyway, it's a pretty common thing in a lot of these animes. So I thought that's what the episode was going to be, but it's only the first half of the episode. And then we flip to like everything else that's going on. That is like the uninteresting stuff that I don't care about at all. So that was unfortunate because I spent a lot of time on that. We see Ai-chan in the dungeon again with like the angel, the obvious angel that Hajime is going to fight at the end, which was like the beginning of the season. Her being like an asshole and Ai-chan being sad. Then we flip over, we see the princess like running around in the dark, talking about how she's got to talk to somebody. We see the guy who tried to kill Hajime originally, talking to like the crazy girl that he's with, who clearly is doing something to the people. We see the commander talking to one of his lieutenants about the void sickness and how it makes people like lose morale and just kind of be weird and stuff, which is all related to that. We also see the demons, like the redhead demon they fought, and his like lieutenant and a bunch of skeletons, and they're like, we're going to war, we gotta fight for God, and blah 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 blah. And then they march off. And then we get the commander in his office, and he's like, oh, I wrote 2 letters, one for this guy and one for Hajime. He didn't call him Hajime, he calls him like Natsuno or whatever his Japanese last name is. Just in case something happens to me. And then someone knocks on his door, and he gets kind of cautious about it because there's so much strange shit going on. But then he's like, oh no, it's just Daisuke, the guy who tried to kill Hajime that no one knows about. And so he opens the door, and Hajime's like, is it Natsuno? Daisuke is like, oh, I gotta talk to you about something, but he's super nervous and shaking and stuff. And then he's like, well, you can just, take your time, figure it out. So, but before that happens, he being the commander gets another caller, and it's Jose, who is the lieutenant he was talking to before. And then he comes in and he tries to kill the commander, and then he sees Daisuke and goes to try to kill him. And then the commander goes to protect Daisuke, and he's like, Daisuke, run! Blah, blah, blah. And he starts casting like his super wind magic, which I think we've seen before. I'm not thinking about a different anime completely, which I may. And and then he gets stabbed in the back by Daisuke. He was like, ooh. So Daisuke's a total asshole. I hope he gets his comeuppance. That'd make me very pleased. But yeah, that's where the episode leaves us. I think that's everything. So a lot of like bullshit that I don't care about, and then like the stuff we're all here for, which is the fan service, like hot Yue and the other girls with their giant MILF tits, and then cute little Mew and Hajime just like being the world's strongest or whatever this show's actually called. So there you go. All right, so episode 8, we finally meet our friend the angel, who is obviously the nun, who's obviously the lady who kidnapped the teacher, and obviously put her in the Divine Mountain. We also find out the Divine Mountain is a labyrinth. Hajime says it at some point very casually, as if we should just know. That's how that works. Sure, whatever. Anyway, so the episode starts off, and the crew is just like cruising along, and they bump into this group that's being attacked by bandits, and there's a barrier. And Kaori, the priestess lady, is like, oh, that looks familiar. And it is familiar because it's the princess. So the princess, instead of getting help from the other students because she didn't know who to trust, she hired a caravan and headed west to get Hajime and Kaori. And they found each other. So Hajime saves them by killing a whole bunch of bandits, which Kaori is now okay with murder. I guess it's not murder they're defending. And then the princess joins them and tells them about Ai-chan and how she's captured at the Divine Mountain and how everything's going on, and he's a heretic, and kind of gets everybody caught up. And they do it in a very succinct way, which I appreciate very much. So then they head over to the Divine Mountain. Hajime very easily busts into the prison, rescues Ai-chan, but then gets attacked by the angel, who has disintegration magic. And she is like, aha, I'm here to get rid of the boards off God's thing, off the God's apostle, blah, 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 blah. And then Hajime, like, smirks. And that's into that part. Oh, he also notices that the demon army has come and they're attacking the capital. All right, so what else happens in this episode? So the guy, the captain didn't die immediately. He, even though he got stabbed, he's super strong. So he uses magic, beats him up, beats up the other guy, beats up the guards. But then, like, the guard, whatever, Daisuke and, like, the lady who's helping him, they have, like, some sort of power over these guys where even though they get knocked out and almost dead, they can, like, bring them back. So then the guards and everybody get up, and then the captain's like, I gotta escape. So he jumps through the window and, like, puts up a barrier so they can't follow him, and he's like, oh, I gotta do this stuff, But then the angel lady's there, and she's like, oh, you can't trust humans, and she kills him. And he's like, no. And then the letters he had for, like, the Duke, and the princess mentions this Duke, too, so he'll probably be relevant later. So the princess mentions the Duke. Yeah. So the letters get crumpled up by the girl, who we still don't know who her identity is. To be fair, I don't know anyone's identity besides, like, Katana Lady. And then, like, Hero, and I think there's, like, Muscle Guy, which I haven't seen Hero or Muscle Guy in, like, this whole season. So I don't know if they're dead or just gone or what's their deal. I assume the Hero Guy's going to come back. He seemed like somewhat important at the end of season 1, but in this arc, or however many volumes this is covering, but it seems like it's covering at least 2 by novel volumes. There's like no hair or high end or whatever for this situation. So high end? Did I say hand? High tail? I don't know. Anyway, whatever I'm trying to say. So that's episode 8. Hey comrades, what's up? So we just finished episode I want to say 9 of Arifureta, and this one was very fun. It was very exciting. It's mostly battle. So we have 3 battles. So we have Hajime fighting the angel while he's protecting Ai-chan, which goes pretty well. And then at some point, Tio comes to save her so that he can concentrate all his energy on fighting this angel. So it's pretty good. So he's seems like they're pretty evenly matched while he's being distracted, but you know, he doesn't get into anything. Bye, sister. Yep. So next we have Shea fighting the demon lord, or the demon lieutenant, and all his, like, I don't even know, like, basilisk cockatrice monsters. They have, like, stone needles they shoot at her. You want more applesauce? Okay. So she fights them. She's got, like, a ball and chain at some point, like a wrecking ball on her hammer. And she's able to, like, completely destroy all these guys. And she's jumping around. And she casts a little bit of magic, it seems. Meanwhile, Yue is taking care of the actual demon king or lord or whatever it is. And she just uses, like, her dragon lightning magic and everything else and just decimates them. And at some point, she, like, destroys, like, the whole army. And then he, like, stabs her with, like, the dragon horn, but she uses, like, a reversal magic and does this reverses all the damage onto him. And then the demon guy's got to leave, and then Yue and Shea, like, mop it up. So they essentially destroy the entire demon army. But before that all happens, the castle that everyone's in gets really wrecked. All right. Anyway, but the battles are all very well done. The thing I like most about this show, the story is, like, kind of whatever. It's like an isekai show with an overpowered guy and, like, hot babes, which I like. Definitely got the vampire lily princess, which is fantastic. And then Shea's hot. Tio, I'm not the biggest fan of, but that's fine. I'm not opposed to her either. But so it's got those two, and they're great. And this episode concentrates on them for the most part, and they're both super hot, and they're animated well. And then they're super powerful. So that's all super fun. So this is a pretty good episode, I gotta say. And I enjoyed it. And then Hajime's just being badass as per usual. What if that's what happens? It's just like combat. They completely destroy the demon army after demon army, like, wrecks the castle and stuff. And then we get a little commentary about, like, the princess before they, like, go to fight. Mostly that Yue is, like, really upset that Hajime got hurt at all by this guy, and she, like, wants revenge. And then when he escapes, she's super pissed off, which I would be too, because the other guy got killed, and they killed a lot of their dudes. Like, they're killing a lot of guys. It's pretty good. And then even Shea at some point is like, whatever. If I sat around and listened to everyone's, like, sad sack story that I killed, it'd be, like, a long day. And I'm like, so hot, so good. So episode 10, we get the completion of the battle with the angel lady / Valkyrie girl. And Hajime makes pretty much short work. He uses his limit break, and she keeps blocking stuff and has a barrier. But eventually he sees there's a weak point, like her swords are cracking. So then he uses his, like, the teleportation magic he got earlier and breaks the swords, wraps her up, and uses his, like, drill bit that he used earlier to crack through the dungeon of Orcus, or the labyrinth of Orcus, and just, like, shatters her mana crystal and kills her real good. Before that, we see I riding the Tio, the dragon, and she's like, I'm going to help you. So she cuts her hand and draws like a magic circle on her palm and does something. So after the battle, going back to the battle, Hajime, he's like, all right, good to go. Now I got to find everyone else. And then there's an explosion over by the Divine Mountain Labyrinth, and he's like, what now? So he goes over there and finds out that I used her magic to create methane, which increased the power of Tio's, like, fire magic, which completely destroyed the Divine Mountain and killed everyone inside. So I has, like, a breakdown about that. Tio's just like, man, so is Hajime. But they hang out with her for a second. Then they see, like, a spirit, which is one of the spirits of, like, the ancestors or liberators or whatever they call them, who leads them down into the magic circle, which gets them these, it's like soul magic from the labyrinth. Yeah, and so the requirements to get the magic this time were just to, like, kill someone with God's power, have no faith in God, and to defeat 2 other labyrinths. So it's like, check, mark, did it before I even showed up. So they get the magic. I get some, Tio, and yada yada, the Hajime. So they got all that good stuff. And then it's like, all right, time to meet up with Yue and figure out what's going on with this attack on the castle. Then the show's like, 2 hours ago. And now we have the other students who are all a bunch of idiots. And so they wake up because they hear a shattering, and then they get accosted by the people who are, like, mind slaved. And then you meet this girl that I don't remember ever seeing before, because, you know, there's, like, the mysterious girl who's running all the plots behind the scene. And she's, like, a chick with glasses. And you're like, oh, it's obviously her. I don't recognize the voice. It's just, like, the way she shows up, it's like, oh, she's obviously the bad guy, which she is. Anyway, so then the maid of Suzuko, who's, like, the katana lady, I think that's her name, something like that. She's like, oh, something, and she's clearly something is wrong. And so then they follow her to, like, get because she's like, oh, we need to gather all the guards together and take you to the army because there's, like, 10,000 people. And it's super obvious that these children are idiots, because I'd be like, wait, hold on, something's wrong, something's messed up. You know, which, fair enough, they're, like, teenagers, because the captain of the guard immediately was like, hey, something's amiss with all this situation. Anyway, poor guy died. That's good. The angel got her comeuppance. So next up is they take him to, like, the Colosseum in the palace, and then they bring him to, like, the middle of the room, and all the guards, like, take their swords out, and then the Juan, the new commander, I guess, he uses some sort of light orb and knocks everyone down but the katana lady, and she's like, what's going on? And then, like, the lady with the girl with the glasses, who's, like, a wizard or something, she's like, aha! I think I have seen her before, casting that. And she's like, aha! I've tricked you all, but I'm not surprised you're the only one who could resist, like, whatever light magic that was, because she, like, turned away at the last second. It's like one of those Final Fantasy 14 bosses where, like, the eyeball comes up and you're like, turn away! Okay, I'm good. She was able to turn away. And then anyway, her maid runs up and is like, oh, and then she stabs her, obviously, which she's so dumb. And then I appreciate that the evil lady, she's like, haha, you're such an idiot. I knew you'd fall for such a ruby, like, trick. Like a rube. You rube. And that's the end of that episode. Alright, so this brings us to the last 2 episodes of Season 2 of Arifureta. From Worthless to World's Strongest, whatever it means. So, the last episode is really just kind of like a wrap-up, epilogue, preparing for the next light novel or season, if there's going to be one or whatever, which I could see there being. This show's pretty fun. I don't know how popular it is. And the fan service is good without being overindulgent, so I would not be surprised if there was a 3rd season. I have not heard... I don't think I've heard anything about this show from anyone. I used to watch Mother's Basement, but that guy seems to, like, not really post that much anymore about stuff, so that's usually who I'd hear some of this stuff from. Anyway, the last episode left us off with everyone being about to be killed by, like, these mind-controlled soldiers, when dun-dun-dun, we find, and then the one lady reveals herself, and then dun-dun-dun, it's not mind control. Well, it's sort of mind control, but it's more like soul control. Soul control. That sounds a lot like mind control. It is and it isn't, because she's actually a necromancer, and so what she does is kills people and then binds their souls to her, but she can't do this en masse. So she's slowly, with the help of that other douchebag, I would assume, been killing people and then resurrecting them with soul bond for like ever. And there's a whole conversation between her and some of the other people about how you can't use necromancy. I mean, these people are still acting and like some of them are still talking and having conversations and thoughts and stuff. And now that's impossible. And she's like, no, au contraire. When you soul bond, instead of just resurrect with necromancy, they maintain a part of themselves, I guess. And like, that's impossible. And she's like, nope, we're special, you idiots. And I'm like, oh yeah, these people are special. Apparently they're all idiots, but her and Hajime. Anyway, why did you do this, friend? I thought we were friends, says one of the girls. And she's like, no, I just played you because you're a rube. And the reason I did this was because I wanted to hook up with the hero character. And I've been wanting to do that since Japan. I didn't know how to get rid of all the rest of you assholes who are getting in my way. And in my head, I'm like, man, this chick is a total lunatic, right? Because she is. Anyway, so then she kisses him, which is important, not just because she kisses him, but because she kisses him with a kiss of poison. Dun, 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 which comes up later when Hajime and the crew like kind of rescue them, and then he's not able to like defend himself as well, even though he's been like released from his bonds, because they're all kind of bound up. Then before all that happens though, they're like, oh, that's some bullshit, you dumb bitch. And she's like, watch this. And so she kills one of their students and then soul bonds them. And they're like, no. Anyway, so she's about to go. The maid is stabbing the samurai lady. And then right before she's about to go up there and finish the job, that is the crazy bitch, Kaori, the priestess lady, shows up. And she like casts a shield on her. And then the princess comes up to help. And they're both like, we got this. And then the douchebag other guy shows up and he's like, watch out, princess. And she like turns and Kairi's like, no, it's a trap. And so he punches the princess like in the back, like a real asshole, and then stabs Kaori, because then they're going to soul bond Kaori so that he can fuck her, because, you know, if it wasn't for Hajime, she totally would be with me, even though she's never had any interest in me whatsoever. And I'm a lunatic. So there you go. People who think they're in love, again, causing problems for everybody, which is normal, because love isn't real. It's a make-believe bullshit to excuse people's bad behavior. Which is why arranged marriages work out better than normal marriages. Because they don't have any of that bullshit crap. They come to love each other through hard work and sacrifice and being together, not some bullshit notion that, oh, I'm in love, I just fell into it. It's like a crevasse that I just stumbled into, and oh, now I can't do anything about it. I don't have any choice. Love conquers all, and bullshit. I hate that bullshit. Anyway. Hajime's love is pure with Yue, obviously. So obviously they all show up, and right before Kaori's about to like die, they like, the teacher and Tio like nab up her soul and maintain it, and then Hajime comes in and uses a Gatling gun to like kill everybody, like all the zombies or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be. And then and then he like takes care of the other business, and then the demon lord guy shows up and he's like, aha, you're weak, and I will destroy this kingdom. And the Hajime's like, I don't give a fuck about this kingdom, brah. And then he uses like orbital satellite lasers. I don't know what to fucking call this thing, and just destroys the demon lord's entire army. And then he just lets the guy go, and the necromancer lady and then the other douchebag, they go with him, it seems. And then they take Kaori to like the top of the mountain, which is that labyrinth they completely destroyed. Let me think. Yeah, they completely destroyed to like help her out. And they're doing some healing, and then Hajime has like a car, and then he's like, all right, bitches, see you later. And so they start picking up the pieces of their life, like the rest of the crew. And Hajime goes, and Yue's like, oh no, Kaori will be fine. She's good to go. And it's like, cool. And then he goes and talks to Ai-chan, and Ai-chan's like crying because she killed people and yada yada. And she's like, I don't regret doing it, but I'm still sad-epotamus. And they have like a nice little conversation about it. So then like the next day or something, the hero and the katana lady are like practicing, and then the princess comes up to the hero and says something, and he's like, I feel bad for samurai lady. She's always looking with like a blank stare. And then immediately following that comment, the crew like rolls in and like falls into the Coliseum. They're like, what's up, bitches? And then like the samurai lady's like, Kaori's not with you. And she's like, and Hajime's like, yeah, she's coming, but when you see her, it's not my fault. That's the choice she made. I did not make that choice. And she's like, what do you mean? And then it looks like the angel that he killed essentially like shows up, and nope, it's Kaori. They took her soul and they put her soul in the dead body of the other lady to like resurrect it. So now she's like the angel. She's got the white hair and the big boobs, and she's much more powerful. And then they still saved her body, but then they put it in like suspended animation or something, so that if she ever wanted it back, she'd get it back. And everyone's like, yay! And then the hero and the Hajime have like a short conversation about how Hajime doesn't give a fuck and how the hero is, kind of self-righteous. And then he's like, all right, whatever, bitches, I'm gonna go to a labyrinth. I'll see you later. And they're like, take us with you. And he's like, what? No. And then they're having like a meal the next day, like Hajime and his harem, when the rest of the students roll in and they like ask again. He's like, all right, fine, whatever. You can come with me, do this labyrinth thing. And I'm like, man, bitches, there's a labyrinth right there. And you could go get some labyrinth action in. But I guess like the requirements for that labyrinth where you had to defeat 2 other labyrinths. So first I was like, plot, gotcha. And I was like, no, I guess it's like the internal consistency makes a little bit of sense. All right. And then the princess just kind of recalls everything that happened over the season, which is most of what happened was like the day before the previous episode. So that seemed unnecessary. But then they all decide they're going to travel and with like the main fighters of the labyrinths, while the rest of the team, the students like and Ai-chan like hold down the capital. And it starts off with the princess wanting to go visit the Empire, which I don't know if that's like where her uncle is or something, but there's like reasons for that. But you find out that the dad was dead, but the dad didn't get the king dad he was like translated through the angel who was clearly working with the demons. Anyway, so yeah, that kind of wraps that up. So that's both episodes. Like I said, the second episode is just kind of, it's a lot of like reiterating what already happened and kind of just like finalizing plans that they're going to come help them with the labyrinth stuff. They also have a conversation about how God is the devil, obviously. So that happens as well. All right, so what did I think? Season 2 is good. I liked it more than season 1. I felt like there was a couple episodes of season 1 that kind of like, I don't know where this is going with this, but it wasn't as fun. This episode is pretty like, or this season, if I recall correctly, you'll call my shit out if you watch this whole video, which is probably going to be at least 15 minutes to an hour. Because you'll have seen these videos that I recorded over the last like month, all spliced together with some AI art of some sort, I'm sure. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I felt like, I don't remember any episodes being like, oh fuck, what's this show again? It was like, I felt like at the beginning of the first season, I was kind of like, well, at the beginning I was like, cool, he's eating monsters, this is rad. And this vampire princess is cool. And then it kind of dragged a little bit, and then I got back into it at the end, which is why I watched season 2. But I'm like, I'm in on it now. I can definitely watch season 3. I don't know if I'd like it enough to like read the visual novel or the light novel or a manga like I would some of these other ones, specifically like Spice and Wolf. But thus far, I'm enjoying myself. So I will continue to keep up with that. And yeah, it's good stuff. Thumbs up all around. Catch y'all later.